Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Epic Chats. My name is Jennifer Shu, and I am the head of US Development at Epic Foundation. So Epic fights to change the lives of disadvantaged children and youth around the world through our portfolio of high-impact organizations. So first, I want to do a little bit of housekeeping. So today's chat will include an opportunity for an AMA. So as you think of them, please add your questions to the chat window or upvote the ones that you'd like answered, and we'll get to them during the AMA. So with that, over to you, PA.
Hi everyone, I'm Paul-Antoine and I'm in charge of our community of pledgers for Epic France. As you may know, the Epic Pledge is a great way for entrepreneurs and investors to add purpose into their business life and the opportunity as well to join a great community. So as a founder, you promise to give to social good a percentage of your future success from an exit. And as an investor, you promise to give a percentage of your carried interest or your management fees. The Epic Pledge is not legally binding. It's just a simple way to add purpose to your everyday, and it can have a huge impact. Today, we welcome one of our wonderful pledgers as a guest, the Managing Director of BAM Ventures, Shamin Walsh. Thank you so much, Shamin, for being here and for being part of our community of engaged investors.
Of course. Good to be
here. Great. Before we dive into your journey with Jennifer, allow me to tell you that at Epic, we are all about giving back. And throughout the years, we built a portfolio of 26 high-impactful organizations fighting to help vulnerable children and youth around the world. Today, Shamin has chosen to support Common Needs, which offers free online literacy materials used by over 60% of all America's public schools. So you will see a donation link pop up on your screen right now. You can click on it, and it will open a new window and won't take you away from our Epic chat. So please give what you can, and I hope you will enjoy the discussion. Back to you, Jennifer.
Thank you, PA. So Shamin, thanks again for supporting Common Lit. And so currently you also serve on the Teach for America Associates Board. So I'm curious, why is education such an important cause for you?
Yeah, so I had the benefit of going to school since childhood, where social justice was a required component of education. So even in high school, the organization I chose to involve with revolved around literacy and teaching underprivileged children how to read. And it was my first exposure to realize that that's really one of the most material ways that you can democratize the playing field. And, you know, they always say you have to walk before you run. And, you know, before we even get to deeper skills like critical analysis or we need to tackle comprehension first. And so education has just always been really important because it's the one way I've seen folks able to actually gain opportunities when they've been held back with roadblocks along the way. I love Teach for America for that very reason. That's why I'm involved there. I actually taught at a Teach for America school for a little bit, not as part of a summer program. And we set up a technology and sports camp. And, you know, the closer we got to realizing that we can make a material difference in the outcome of someone's life through education, more and more it made me just want to lean into that avenue. I'm also a mentor with the Fulfillment Fund. So I have had a little sister since she was 13. She's the first person in her family to go to college. She's now close to finishing at UC Santa Barbara. So even just seeing, you know, not even just on a mass level, but on a one-to-one level, seeing how she's has the ability to join the ranks through education is just really profound.
Wow, thank you for sharing. For those of you who are new to Epic, education is one of our four pillars in addition to helping kids access healthcare, economic opportunities, and child rights. So Shamin, I can see why you signed the Epic Pledge and joined our community. We really appreciate you being here and sharing your story with us. And so I want to dive straight into your investor journey. And so I know that before you joined BAM Ventures, you had a really big hit on a company that many of us know today, Sweet Green. There's one about 2 blocks away from our office, so everyone basically survives off of Sweet Green. So can you tell us how you became an early investor in Sweet Green?
Yeah. So we all went to college together. I probably met the folks who started it the first day of freshman year. And, you know, I probably could not have a better sense of product market fit than actually living in DC and knowing what the food options were like over the 4 years that we were there. And before we graduated, the guys had the idea to bring a healthy food concept out there. 2 of the co-founders are from LA, and in LA, we were kind of used to this idea of salad as your main course, but it wasn't as prevalent out on the East Coast, at least when we were at school. And I have to say that I felt reasonably confident it would be successful because of the founders' backgrounds and experience, and just having known them so intimately over the course of college. But I would be lying if I said I had the foresight to realize how big it would be now. But over the years, having seen the way that they've executed and scaled the business, I'm not surprised that they've really created into something much larger than just a salad.
Yeah, and I think Shamin's being a little modest here. 2 years ago, Sweet Green hit unicorn status with $1 billion valuation. So, yeah, that investment really paid off. And I think you also mentioned when we were chatting earlier that you were an attorney in your past life before investing. Did that play into, I guess, your investments before joining BAM?
Yeah, so funny enough, all 3 partners at BAM are attorneys by background, but it's purely coincidental. Brian has probably leveraged it the best by creating LegalZoom. But prior to BAM, I worked at another fund where I kept all of our legal in-house. And if we did an FPV, I'd structure the SPV. So it was a really good way to merge the 2 worlds on the transactional side.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So I want to segue to another big hit in BAM Ventures portfolio, which is Honey. So Honey, for those of you who don't have it already, it's a browser extension that helps you automatically look for discounts and coupons. Very handy sometimes for Amazon shopping, by the way. But BAM had like a 300x return on that investment. How did you hunt down that company, and what made it stand out amongst all the other sort of coupons and savings solutions?
Yeah, so my partners did a fireside chat, and the founders came up to them afterwards and had this idea, and it sounded pretty nifty, but it was very much in the very early days then. So it was just, any founder that approaches. Honey's pretty unique in that it meets all of the criteria that are often barriers to other companies, in the sense that it's completely free to the consumer. It's super passive, so you don't have to do anything. Mm-hmm. And it earns you money. So when you think about, consumer facing companies, a lot of the barriers are around conversion and engagement. Mm-hmm. And they didn't have to deal with any of that. They've obviously had a lot of complexity and sophistication in building out their technology. But in terms of the value proposition to the consumer, it was hard not to invest when there really is no reason not to.
It was too easy, right?
Yeah. Early on, I mean, a lot of people passed on the deal because they were customer obsessed. And so, monetization wasn't on the roadmap very, very early on until they had really created a captive audience. And the other thing was that it was a Chrome extension. So a lot of people really underestimated whether or not a Chrome extension could become as big as it is, or just that it had platform dependency on Chrome. But and that is a real risk with any company that has any level of platform dependency or is any kind of plugin. So part of its magic was also a potential risk, but we were fortunate that in this scenario it worked out.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I've had it downloaded for quite a while, and it's saved me a lot of money. And I had, multiple friends mention it, and so it was like sort of viral word of mouth. And if it's just a simple download, why not? So congrats on that bet. So I want to shift gears to, I guess, the present and the challenges that a lot of the founders out there are facing, during this time of COVID. And so I know there are quite a few founders that are logged in today. And so I was hoping you could share some strategies that you've seen work well amongst some of your portfolio founders in responding to COVID, or maybe some strategies that haven't, and just generally share advice for the founders in the room.
Yeah, I would say that, so we're consumer-focused investors, and so a lot of my approach or philosophy is really particular to consumer-facing companies. I'd say that consumers are pretty smart, and they know how to distinguish between what's performative and what's authentic. And so I think with everything that's going on, if a company starts shifting in a certain way that's not inherent to its DNA, consumers can sense whether social justice or equality or some of these other initiatives were really part of the company story all along, or whether it just looks like the right thing to do right now. And so my advice to a lot of founders is really stay core to your mission and your values. And, you're attracting, at least for the companies that we invest in, we look for companies that really drive a true emotional resonance with their consumers. And so you're obviously attracting somebody that aligns with you outside of merely the product or service that you're offering, but that, has some kind of emotional affiliation. We often say, a good brand helps the customer tell more about themselves than the actual product or service that they're selling. So I think it's a really good time to lean into your consumer base, to communicate with them, to be transparent. One thing we've seen with COVID is that, some of the standards that we had before in terms of, expecting next day delivery has been tempered, and that you really see a stronger appreciation and understanding for things that you need to have versus things that you want to have. And so we've seen consumers be a lot more patient around shipping times and fulfillment. And as long as the brand is continually engaging with them and kind of keeping them in the loop, even when there have been obstacles along the way where you're out of inventory because your factory is shut down, you haven't churned anybody. And I'd say the other big thing that we've told our portfolio is really thinking of recalibrating their mindset that we do live in a very uncertain world right now. And so I think that there is a really compelling story around survivability, and it's not just growth at all costs. And so for a lot of our companies, whether even if they're thriving during this period, we really have shifted the focus on cash preservation, because we just don't really know what the financing landscape will look like, or just when things will resume to normal, or what the new normal will even look like. And so, we have a firm conviction that this is one of the best times to invest, because things will shift. The strong will survive, and then they'll attract some of the best talent out there. But I think, it cannot be underemphasized how important it is to be able to survive until that point. So, anything that's not driving direct attribution, etc., our advice to a lot of our founders is really just think about a landscape where you might not be able to get funding for at least 12 to 18 months. How are you navigating until then?
Yeah, that's a lot of really great advice. So stay, core to your, main product or service. Keep your customers informed, and their loyalty will kind of shine through. And then 3, keep an eye on cash in bank, and just be as tight as possible through the storm. So all really, really great advice. So this is actually AMA time. So if anyone has questions, please add them in. So I want to pull one that's been posted already. Let me see. So Sarah is asking, how can companies be sure this is part of their DNA from the beginning, so it's always core to their main product or service? Sarah, can you clarify a little bit about what this is? Or actually, she asked another one. Let me go to that one first. So there's a lot of conversation now about the need for companies to align around social justice and racial equity movements. How do you find and recognize the companies that are truly deeply aligned versus being more performative in this aspect?
Yeah.
Question, Sarah. Thanks.
I would say that it's really just about action. Actions speak louder than words. And so really looking at one, what they've done to date. I mean, are you ahead of the movement now, or at the loudest voice in the room now, but have done nothing to reflect any of the statements that you're making prior? And if you are someone who's been behind the curve, but really, have true learnings, then what are you doing as an organization internally, whether it comes to hiring, whether it comes to, the product or service you're offering, whether, how it comes to, how you're adapting to a broader audience, to see if you are genuinely, living up to the words that you're speaking.
Thank you. So Debbie has a question. I know Epic promotes the idea of checkout giving. Is that something you think can make a difference for brands in terms of the way consumers see them? So every time they buy something, X percent goes to a nonprofit. Have you seen that in your portfolio or assessed something like that?
Yeah, I have seen that. I find that it works well. Again, not to be repetitive, but one, it's actually core to the mission of the company as well. So if you're arbitrarily affiliated with a nonprofit because you think it looks good to be affiliated with a nonprofit, it doesn't resonate as well. But, when it's tied to either making it easier to provide your product or service offering to, an underrepresented demography, or, when it's an organization you've been involved with in other ways, I do find that it does resonate with consumers. If the consumers just need more than one touch point than just the checkout giving is the point. They really need to feel like this is part of who you are, and your value. So, if, for example, we have an investment in a company called Blue Land, and they create non-toxic products to eliminate water waste. And for them, it's not just about, hey, let's offer XYZ or affiliate with this organization because we have this mission and, it looks good for us. But for them, they have committed to becoming an entirely carbon neutral company. And so you see these other touch points that align with the missions that they're trying to move forward outside of just a quick affiliation and checkout. Because even if someone contributes $1 or $2 at checkout, they're not necessarily going to remember unless you create multiple bursts for that kind of resonance.
Right. That's a great point. Sometimes, I've seen that, but then it just has, 3 or 4 words, and it doesn't really convey, I guess, both the importance and the fact that it's a larger message and more core to a company's mission. So I want to pull a question from Tariq. Does the BAM team prefer to invest in areas where it has already had experience, or is there a greater level of openness to different concepts built into your investment philosophy? Good question.
Yeah, so we call ourselves broadly consumer. We invest in 3 categories within that. The first is consumer brands. The second is consumer-facing technology. So a Honey would fit into that example. And then the third is B2B enterprise that transforms commerce. So one-click checkout, logistics, inventory planning, etc. That already covers a broad spectrum, but we do like to invest in where we know, because for us, our internal mantra is that we have to love the founder and not hate the idea. And that essentially means that for us, the idea alone is not the key to success. And it's really about execution. And it's really hard for us to be truly supportive if we don't understand the industry, or we haven't done it before, or we can't help you accelerate the learning curve, or, solidify a competitive advantage. And so as investors, we never want to be in a position where, we're investing in a company where, if this company goes sideways, we wouldn't know enough to be able to really guide them. And we're just sitting on our hands saying, we hope you do well. There's a lot of incredible companies and founders out there that are going to succeed, but they could benefit from investors who have more expertise in whatever it is that they're building than we would be.
Would you say that you're pretty hands-on investors? Because you have a pretty massive portfolio. I mean, I was looking down the list, and it's pretty sizable, and you have a team of 4. So
yeah, so we get asked that question a lot. It's funny because we're the earliest investors in most of our companies, and so we're pretty hands-on at the point of investment in the early days, but not everyone has the same needs as at the same time. And then as companies go on to raise their Series A, B, C, etc., we're always available, but we don't need to take as much of an active role. But the way that I would describe it to, and to our founders is that we invest in people that we believe in, and then we are available as needed. So we have some founders who are like we love you. It makes us feel really good that you guys are there. We'll call you if we need you, and that's totally fine. And then we have other founders who will call us, every day on, what do you think of this logo color? Who should I use for my fulfillment vendor? And either dynamic is fine. So we're not active in the sense that it's our intention to micromanage anybody else. If we feel like we'd have to do that, then we're not investing in that company, because we're investing in people we believe in. But we always want to make sure that we're active in the sense that a founder can reach out to us anytime and we're available to them and can actually, help with whatever it is that the ask is.
Yeah. The two-way communication stream makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So I can't believe how fast half an hour has just flown by.
Yeah.
And Shamin, I know you're tuning in from LA, so it's been a particularly early morning for you. I think the green shake that you were drinking earlier must have helped. So
yeah,
give that a try. Do you still have it? I mean, it's like
I do, yeah, I have it right here, but it felt kind of awkward to.
It's like sweet green in a giant container.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you one last question before we wrap up. So you and your partners, Brian and Richard, have all signed the Epic Pledge. And I'd love to just hear why it was important for your whole team to take the pledge.
Yeah. So going back to this theme of, authenticity and kind of living what you preach, it really, when we met Alexandre, it really resonated with us because, again, he wasn't trying to just affiliate with something as an ego boost or because it looks good or, for marketing reasons. He actually lives his life this way and is really dedicated to it. And for us, that really resonated. I think we all have an obligation, if we're in a more fortunate position, to be able to give back, only because, if you look at it from purely selfish perspective, I think, there is so much value in the collective goodwill. And so let's say with education, right? If I was looking at it from purely business perspective, the better education that we're providing to people, the better talent that we're producing out of that. And so it's not even just about, selflessness, but I think we do have this obligation to create the world that we want to live in. And then Epic in particular really attracted us because I think all of us really have a passion for social justice, but we have different causes that pull at our heartstrings. And for us, the flexibility of Epic was really appealing, that you guys work with so many organizations and the pledge is really to give back, but how you choose to give back and to what cause you choose to give back is up to you. And I think for us, that was one of the biggest hurdles in terms of, wanting to commit to anybody was, do we have autonomy over where these funds go? And that was something that was really compelling for us, that you guys offer that.
Great. That's good to know that, our portfolio of 26 organizations was appealing in that way. And I also want to add that we're pretty geographically diverse as well. We have organizations in the US, in Europe, in Asia, Africa. And so you're absolutely right. There's, pledgers in our community that are interested in any mix of things. And so the good news is that any organization that they do pick out of our portfolio have been really, really carefully vetted. And so they can have confidence that they're doing really great work on the ground and in those communities. And so I just want to thank you again for waking up so early today to join us.
Thank you guys. You guys are doing the real work out there.
Yeah. And and then thank you so much also for just supporting Common Lit. I think Commonlit's COO, Agnes, is logged in as well. So Agnes, thank you and your team for all the amazing work that you do, especially now in helping kids learn from home. And then I also want to remind everyone that we actually have a webinar in a couple weeks. So on the Wednesday, the 29th, so same time as now, it's going to be an epic chat with Mary Biggins, the co-founder and CEO of MealPal. And she's also the co-founder of ClassPass. And coincidentally, ClassPass is one of BAM Ventures' portfolio companies. So love when we have small world moments in our community. So yep, be sure to sign up for that webinar. And then I also have a favor to ask all of you. So when the webinar ends, please stick around for an extra 5 seconds. You'll automatically see a bit of a Super Bowl commercial from us about the Epic Pledge. And we're a really cool community that really cares about kids around the world. So please stick around, check it out, and then ping us if you want to join our community at Epic Pledge at epic.foundation. So with that, Shamin, thank you again. Enjoy the rest of your shake, and we'll see all of you in a couple weeks.
Great. Thank you, guys. Bye. I don't really know how to log off. How does one exit?
Oops, sorry, it's taking a little longer than 5 seconds to close down, but that means we get to
okay.
means we get to thank our audience one more time. So thanks for joining us, everyone.